Lena stepped off the transport pod, her heart racing with excitement. The Earth air felt strange against her skin as she adjusted her human appearance modifier. She looked like any other Korean woman now, though underneath she was pure Nyari, a species that hadn't reproduced naturally in over 8 centuries. The university campus bustled with activity. Humans moved in chaotic patterns, so different from the orderly processions on her homeworld. Lena clutched her research materials tightly. As the first xenobiologist to study human reproduction up close, she couldn't fail her people. "You must be Lena," a voice called out. A tall man with friendly eyes approached her. "I'm Dr. Park. Welcome to Seoul National University." Lena bowed slightly, remembering her cultural training. "Thank you for accepting my research proposal. The Nyari High Council is very interested in your reproductive practices." Dr. Park's smile faltered slightly. "Yes, well, let's get you settled first." The laboratory was primitive by Nyari standards, but Lena found it charming. Glass beakers instead of molecular assemblers. Microscopes instead of quantum viewers. Yet these humans had mapped their own genome and mastered many reproductive technologies despite their limitations. "Your species reproduces entirely through artificial means?" Dr. Park asked as he showed her around. "For 800 years now," Lena confirmed proudly. "We select optimal genetic combinations, grow embryos in gestation chambers, and raise children in community education centers. No messy biology required." "And your birth rates?" Lena hesitated. "They've been declining for several centuries. That's partly why I'm here." At lunch in the university cafeteria, Lena observed her first human courtship behaviors. 2 young students at a nearby table laughed together, their bodies angled toward each other. The female touched the male's arm briefly. "Are they initiating reproductive protocols?" Lena whispered to Dr. Park. He nearly choked on his drink. "No. They're just flirting, getting to know each other." How inefficient, Lena noted, recording her observations. On Nyari, compatible pairs are matched by the Central Reproduction Authority. "And how's that working out?" Dr. Park asked with curiosity. Before Lena could answer, a young man approached their table. "Dr. Park, sorry to interrupt. I have those test results you wanted." Perfect timing. "Lena, this is June, my research assistant. He'll be helping you gather data." June smiled warmly at Lena. "I've read your preliminary work on comparative reproduction. Your perspective is fascinating." Something strange happened to Lena then, her heart rate increased and her cheeks felt warm. A physiological response her species had engineered away centuries ago. How peculiar. That evening, June showed Lena around the campus. She peppered him with questions about human mating rituals. "So you spend months or even years determining compatibility before reproduction?" she asked, astonished. June laughed. "Most people don't think of dating as a path to reproduction anymore. It's about connection, companionship." "But that's the biological purpose," Lena insisted. "Maybe originally. But humans find meaning beyond biological imperatives." This concept troubled Lena. On Nyari, everything served a clear purpose. Efficiency was the highest value. Yet these humans deliberately chose inefficient paths and seemed happier for it. The next day, Lena observed her first prenatal class. Expectant couples learned breathing techniques together. The fathers placed hands on the mothers' rounded bellies, faces lighting up when they felt movement. "What purpose does the male serve at this stage?" Lena whispered to June. "The genetic contribution is complete." June looked thoughtful. "Emotional support. Partnership. Humans don't just reproduce, we create families." As they left the class, an elderly couple walked past, holding hands. "Are they still reproducing?" Lena asked, confused. June smiled. "No. They just love each other." That word love wasn't in Lena's Nyari vocabulary. There was no direct translation. That night in her temporary quarters, Lena recorded her initial findings. Human reproduction appears wildly inefficient by Nyari standards. Yet it creates emotional bonds that persist long after reproductive usefulness ends. These connections seem to provide satisfaction our engineered processes lack. She paused, thinking of June's patient explanations and kind smile. Something was happening to her, something unexpected. For the first time, Lena wondered if her species had made a mistake in their relentless pursuit of efficiency. Tomorrow, she would begin formal observations of human courtship rituals. June had offered to take her to something called a coffee shop, apparently a common location for early pair bonding activities. For scientific purposes only, Lena reminded herself. But she couldn't explain why she was so looking forward to it. Lena sat across from Dr. Park, her tablet displaying the detailed research proposal she had worked on for 3 nights straight. Her fingers tapped nervously on the table as she waited for him to finish reading. This is... Dr. Park paused, adjusting his glasses. Quite thorough. Is that a problem? Lena asked. You want to study human courtship and mating rituals up close? That's rather personal. Lena nodded eagerly. The Nyari Science Council needs comprehensive data. We must understand why humans maintain biological reproduction despite its inefficiency. Dr. Park sighed. Humans consider these matters private. You can't just observe people during intimate moments. I don't understand, Lena said. On my world, reproduction is a clinical process. There's nothing private about it. That's exactly why your research could be valuable, June said, entering the office with coffee. He handed Lena a cup. The cultural differences are significant. Lena took a sip and grimaced at the bitter taste. My proposal includes surveys, interviews, and observation of public courtship behaviors. No invasion of privacy. Dr. Park reviewed the document again. The ethics committee might approve with some modifications. But you'll need volunteers who understand your research goals. Later that day, Lena posted notices around campus seeking research participants. By evening, her inbox was surprisingly full. Many humans seemed eager to discuss their reproductive practices. I don't understand, she told June as they reviewed the responses. Why would humans volunteer to discuss something so inefficient? June smiled. People like talking about relationships. And some probably find your alien perspective interesting. The next morning, Lena conducted her first interview with a young couple, Min and Sue, who had been together for 3 years. How did you determine genetic compatibility? Lena asked. The couple exchanged confused glances. We met at a music festival, Sue explained. We liked the same band. Music preference indicates reproductive compatibility? Lena asked, typing notes furiously. Min laughed. No, it just gave us something to talk about. One thing led to another. What things? Lena pressed. Well, we started talking, then dating, then. Sue's voice trailed off. Lena waited for more precise data. Then reproductive activities? Both humans turned red. June quickly intervened. Maybe we should discuss the courtship phase more thoroughly first. Throughout the week, Lena interviewed 12 more couples. Each story was different, yet shared common themes of chance meetings, emotional connections, and something called chemistry. On Friday evening, June invited Lena to observe natural human social interactions at a university gathering. The room was loud and crowded, with humans consuming beverages that altered their behavior. This seems counterproductive to mate selection, Lena observed. Why would humans impair their judgment during this crucial process? It reduces anxiety, June explained. Some people find these interactions stressful. Stress during reproduction selection? How peculiar. Lena made another note. As the night progressed, Lena observed various courtship behaviors, prolonged eye contact, selective proximity, laughter at statements that weren't objectively humorous. That male has approached 3 females with identical conversation patterns, she noted to June, yet only the third responded positively. Why? Attraction isn't logical, June said. It's about chemistry, feeling, intuition. A slow song began playing, and couples moved to the center of the room, holding each other close. What is this ritual? Lena asked. Dancing. It's a way to test physical compatibility and create intimacy. Lena watched, fascinated. The movements served no practical purpose. Not everything humans do has a practical purpose, June said. Sometimes we do things because they feel good. The concept was alien to Lena. On Nyari, every action served efficiency. Yet these humans seemed to derive satisfaction from the very inefficiency of their courtship. The next day, Lena expanded her research proposal. Beyond the biological aspects, she needed to understand the emotional components of human reproduction. She scheduled observations at restaurants, parks, and entertainment venues, all places June identified as dating locations. When she submitted her revised proposal to the ethics committee, Dr. Park seemed surprised by her new direction. You're focusing more on emotional bonds than biological processes, he noted. I've discovered they cannot be separated in humans, Lena replied. To understand human reproduction, I must understand human connection. That evening, as Lena updated her research logs, she noticed something strange. Her heart rate increased whenever she reviewed her notes on June. When she included his name in her daily report to the Nyari Council, she felt an unexpected warmth in her chest. These were symptoms her species had engineered away centuries ago. Yet here they were, emerging without her consent. For scientific purposes, Lena decided to accept June's invitation to something called a dinner date. She told herself it was purely for research. But a small part of her, a part growing stronger each day, knew there was more to it than science. Lena adjusted the small recording device hidden in her jacket as she entered the busy restaurant. After 2 months on Earth, she had learned to blend in better. She no longer stared too long at couples holding hands or asked blunt questions about reproductive compatibility in public spaces. June waved from a corner table. He had become more than a research assistant to Lena, though she struggled to categorize their relationship in her scientific terms. I ordered some appetizers to share, June said as she sat down. The food here represents a traditional courting ritual. Sharing dishes creates intimacy. Fascinating, Lena said, activating her recorder with a subtle tap. On Nyari, we never share food. It's considered inefficient. Do Nyari ever do anything inefficient? June asked with a smile. Lena thought for a moment. No. That's why we're struggling now. Efficiency doesn't always lead to happiness. Around them, human couples engaged in various bonding behaviors. Lena noted how they leaned toward each other, maintained eye contact, and often reached across the table to touch hands. Her research was showing clear patterns in human courtship, patterns that seemed irrational but worked remarkably well. Tell me about families on your world, June said as their food arrived. We don't have families as you understand them, Lena explained. Children are grown in gestation pods and raised in community education centers. Genetic donors rarely meet their offspring. That sounds lonely, June remarked. We never considered it lonely until our birth rates began dropping. Now the council wonders if we've lost something important. After dinner, they walked through a park where many couples strolled together. The night air was cool, and June noticed Lena shivering. Here, he said, offering his jacket. When he placed it around her shoulders, Lena felt that strange flutter in her chest again. She had been experiencing these sensations more frequently: increased heart rate, elevated body temperature, dilated pupils. All signs of attraction that her species had engineered away centuries ago. Tomorrow is a special day, June said. My sister just had a baby. Would you like to visit them? It might be valuable for your research. Lena nodded eagerly. I've studied human pregnancy extensively but haven't observed post-birth bonding behaviors. The next day, Lena entered the hospital room with June, carrying flowers he had helped her select. His sister Hannah looked tired but happy, holding a small bundle wrapped in blue. This is Lena, my friend from the university, June explained. The alien researcher? Hannah asked with a knowing smile. June has told me about your work. Lena felt her face grow warm. She was still adjusting to human emotional displays. Would you like to hold him? Hannah asked, offering the baby. Lena froze. I've never held an infant. On my world, only specialists handle newborns. It's easy, June encouraged. Just support his head. With trembling hands, Lena accepted the tiny human. The baby's eyes opened, looking directly at her. Something unexpected happened then. A powerful feeling surged through her, unlike anything she had experienced before. His name is Miho, Hannah said softly. Hello, Miho, Lena whispered. The baby gripped her finger with surprising strength. Later, as they left the hospital, Lena was uncharacteristically quiet. Are you okay? June asked. I need to update my research, she said finally. When I held Miho, I experienced an emotional response that has no equivalent on Nyari. It was overwhelming. Humans call that an instant bond, June explained. It's what helps ensure parents care for their children despite the difficulties. That night, Lena sent an urgent message to the Nyari Science Council. Her research was revealing something unexpected. Human reproduction, with all its messiness and inefficiency, created powerful emotional connections that sustained their society. These bonds weren't just biological but formed the foundation of human resilience. The Council's response came quickly. Continue observations. Your data contradicts centuries of Nyari reproductive theory. If humans derive benefits from biological reproduction beyond population growth, we must understand them. Over the following weeks, Lena immersed herself more deeply in human culture. She attended a wedding ceremony, visited playgrounds to observe parent-child interactions, and even joined June's family for dinner. With each new experience, Lena felt herself changing. The emotional responses she had been studying were now happening within her. When June smiled at her, her heart raced. When he took her hand during a movie, she felt a connection that defied scientific explanation. In her private journal, separate from her official research, Lena wrote, "The human's reproductive inefficiency creates something we have lost, deep connections between individuals. These connections seem to make their chaotic lives meaningful in ways we no longer understand. I find myself wondering if what my people call progress was actually a profound loss." She didn't send this entry to the council. Some discoveries were too personal to share. Even in the name of science, the ancient text glowed on the screen, its symbols shifting from Nyari script to Korean as the translation program worked. Lena had requested the archives, specifically historical documents from before her species had engineered biological reproduction out of their existence. What she found made her hands shake. Are you sure this translation is accurate? She asked the university's AI system. Confirmation, 98.7% accuracy, the system replied. Would you like an alternative translation? No, Lena whispered. This is sufficient. The documents revealed a shocking truth. 800 years ago, the Nyari had been much like humans. They formed bonds, raised children together, experienced the emotions Lena had been studying in humans. But their leaders had deemed these experiences inefficient and engineered them away, step by step, generation by generation. The door to the research lab slid open. June entered, carrying 2 cups of hot tea. You've been here all night, he said, placing 1 cup beside her. What's so important? Lena looked up, her eyes red from staring at screens for hours. I found our past, June. The Nyari weren't always like this. She showed him the images, ancient Nyari with their children, family units that resembled human families, celebrations of pair bonding that looked remarkably like weddings. My species deliberately removed the capacity for deep attachment, she explained. We thought it made us superior, more evolved. June studied the images. Why would they do that? Efficiency. Reproduction without emotional complications. No messy breakups, no custody battles, no heartbreak. Lena's voice trembled. We thought we were advancing. She pulled up another document, this one more recent. But look at this population data. For the last 3 centuries, our birth rates have declined steadily. Many Nyari choose not to reproduce at all, even though the process requires minimal effort. Without attachment, there's no motivation, June said softly. Lena nodded. The council thought I was studying human reproduction to find ways to improve our artificial methods. But I'm discovering we gave up something essential. June hesitated, then reached for her hand. The simple touch sent warmth through Lena's body, a sensation her ancestors had decided was unnecessary. What will you tell your people? He asked. The truth. That humans aren't primitive, they preserved something we discarded. That afternoon, Lena scheduled an emergency call with the Nyari Science Council. The 5 council members appeared on the large screen, their features similar to hers but lacking the emotional expression she had learned to display during her time on Earth. Researcher Lena, explain this urgent communication, the head counselor said. Lena took a deep breath. I discovered critical information about our evolutionary path. The emotional bonds humans form during reproduction aren't primitive, they're essential. She shared her findings, showing them the historical documents and the correlation with declining birth rates. We engineered ourselves toward a dead end, she explained. Without emotional connection, reproduction becomes merely duty, not desire. The council members remained expressionless, another engineered trait. Your evidence is compelling, the head counselor finally said. But reversing 800 years of evolution would be challenging. Not as challenging as extinction, Lena replied. Some Nyari still have the capacity for these emotions, they're just dormant. I know because I've experienced them myself. After the call ended, Lena felt drained. She had just challenged centuries of Nyari belief about their superiority. There would be resistance, perhaps even attempts to discredit her research. June found her sitting alone in the university garden. How did they take it? He asked, sitting beside her. They'll review my findings. It may take years before they accept the truth. June nodded. Cultural change is never fast. I've changed, though, Lena said quietly. I came here to study human reproduction as a curious biological process. I never expected to feel. She struggled with the word. It wasn't in the Nyari vocabulary. Connection? June offered. Yes. Connection. Lena looked at him. The Nyari believe that's our weakness, but watching humans, I think it's your greatest strength. The setting sun cast a golden light across the garden. In the distance, a young couple pushed a stroller along the path, both parents leaning in occasionally to check on their baby. That simple scene would be impossible on my world, Lena said, pointing. We have reproduction specialists who oversee the growth of all children. The genetic donors never see them. What about you? June asked carefully. Would you want children someday? The question startled Lena. 3 months ago, she would have seen reproduction as merely a civic duty. Now, watching the human family, she felt a longing for something her species had forgotten. I think I would, she said. But not the Nyari way. I want what they have, the connection, the bond. The inefficient, wonderful human way. June smiled and took her hand again. This time, Lena didn't analyze the sensation. She simply allowed herself to feel it. The Grand Hall of Seoul National University was filled to capacity. Humans sat alongside a small delegation of Nyari visitors, their tall, slender forms and pale blue skin standing out among the crowd. At the podium, Lena stood with her final research presentation displayed on the large screen behind her. After 1 Earth year of study, she said, her voice clear and confident, I can now present my findings on human reproductive practices and their implications for Nyari society. The Nyari council members watched with neutral expressions, they hadn't yet learned to show emotion as Lena had. June sat in the front row, giving her an encouraging smile. Humans approach reproduction inefficiently by Nyari standards, Lena continued. They spend years finding compatible partners. They experience complex emotions during the process. Their child-rearing requires enormous time investment from specific caregivers. She paused, looking directly at the council. And yet, their population thrives. More importantly, their society remains vibrant and motivated. Individual humans find deep meaning in these connections. Lena changed the display to show the declining Nyari birth rates alongside their technological advancements. As we engineered emotion out of reproduction, we lost something essential. The very inefficiency of human reproduction creates bonds that sustain their civilization. Murmurs spread through the audience. One council member leaned forward. "Are you suggesting we abandon 8 centuries of progress?" he asked. "I'm suggesting we reconsider our definition of progress," Lena replied. "In removing the emotion from reproduction, we removed the desire for it. The result is our current crisis." She showed images of human families, parents playing with children, grandparents holding babies, couples supporting each other through pregnancy. These bonds aren't primitive. They're sophisticated adaptations that ensure not just survival, but meaningful existence. After the presentation, humans and Nyari engaged in animated discussion. Several Nyari approached Lena with questions, showing more curiosity than she had ever seen from her species. Later, at a small reception, the head counselor sought Lena out. "Your research is provocative," she said. "Some on the council find it disturbing." "Truth often is," Lena replied. "We've begun preliminary studies to identify the genetic modifications that removed emotional bonding capacities," the counselor continued. "It may be possible to reverse them for future generations." Lena felt a surge of hope. "And current generations? Some individuals, like yourself, seem to have dormant capacities that can be awakened through environmental triggers. That's another area for study." June approached, offering drinks. The counselor observed their interaction with scientific interest. "You formed a pair bond with this human," she stated, not asking. Lena didn't deny it. "I have." "Fascinating. The process appears to have activated emotional responses we thought were eliminated." The counselor made a note on her device. "This merits further investigation." After the counselor moved away, June turned to Lena. "Is that all I am? A research trigger?" Lena shook her head. "You know better than that." Outside the reception hall, they walked through the campus where their journey had begun 1 year earlier. The cherry trees were in bloom, pink petals floating on the evening breeze. "What happens now?" June asked. "Will you return to Nyari?" "Eventually," Lena said. "My people need this research. Some are already talking about experimental communities where biological reproduction and family units will be reintroduced." "And us?" June asked quietly. Lena stopped walking and turned to him. "The council has approved an extended cultural exchange. They want to understand human-Nyari relationships." "More research," June said with a small smile. "Not just research," Lena replied. "I've requested permission to experience the full range of human bonding practices." June looked confused. "Meaning?" Lena took a small box from her pocket. Inside was a simple ring, a human custom she had studied extensively. "In my research, I found that humans often formalize pair bonds with symbols and ceremonies," she said, her voice suddenly nervous. "Would you consider such an arrangement with me?" June stared at the ring, then at Lena. "Are you proposing?" "Inefficiently, yes," she said with a smile. June laughed and pulled her close. "The most scientific proposal ever." "Is that a yes?" Lena asked, still learning to read human emotional cues. Instead of answering with words, June kissed her, another human custom Lena had come to appreciate greatly. 3 months later, a small ceremony united them in what the Nyari Council officially termed a cultural immersion partnership, but what Earth simply called marriage. The first of its kind between their species. In her final report to the Council, Lena wrote, "Human reproduction remains inefficient by traditional Nyari standards. It is messy, emotional, and unpredictable. But within that apparent chaos lies a profound wisdom. Our ancestors forgot that connection gives purpose, that bonds create meaning, and that some inefficiencies are worth preserving." As a pioneering ambassador between species, Lena would help build a bridge between two approaches to life and reproduction. And as she and June discussed their own future family, however it might form, she knew that her greatest discovery wasn't scientific at all, but deeply personal. Sometimes the most advanced path forward is returning to what matters most.